brought in astrology while we are talking about Vastu is simple. Astrology can live without Vastu, but Vastu cannot live without astrology. That is intimately linked. And the previous slide that I had projected earlier was that just in the Indian subcontinent, a huge number of people have been challenging those who make claims in the name of Jyotishyam, in the name of astrology, to prove their claims to be true. Now, India has been a great contributor to the astronomical understanding of the universe, but it has been of late the greatest contributor of the astrological nonsense that is there in the country. The world's most important superstition capital today, sadly, is our country. This is where it is all happening. The scum of the earth who feed on the ignorance of people are living in the darkness of ignorance that is spread by these people. And this is sad. And the reason we engage with that is really because nobody else is willing to. And for 50 years, scientists, people working in society, astronomers, or simply science popularizers have been throwing challenges. I, some years ago, offered 1 crore of rupees, which is roughly what I thought I would get if I sold my apartment, if somebody were to prove that astrology works. Simply because astrology doesn't work. That was a confidence I had, that it wouldn't be a case where I would lose my property. Because it is based on falsehood. Because it is made, the claims of astrology are confused with the knowledge that astronomy gives. Astronomy simply helps us understand how the universe, the celestial objects in the universe, move around. Astrology is a claim to tell you that on this particular day, this particular incident in your personal life will happen. So predictive astrology is not the same as astronomy itself. Now, you would know the third person from the right is Dr. Narendra Dabolkar, who was killed 2.5 years ago, 3 years nearly now, simply for asking for a law to protect those who are being made victims of their superstitious beliefs. He was killed. They were arrested. The first person to be arrested in this case happened yesterday. Somebody belonging to the Sanatan Samstha has been arrested for planning the murder of Narendra Dabolkar. You know, Dr. A.T. Kovur came from Sri Lanka. He was an icon of free thinking in India. Dr. H. Narasimhaya was the one who, as Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University, said in the interest of physics and physical sciences, he will mount an investigation into Satya Sai Baba's claims to produce Vibhuti out of nowhere. Because if you can produce Vibhuti out of nowhere, it destroys all the fundamental principles that we have about the universe, that you can create something out of nothing. And immediately after Narasimhaya announced his intention, the guy who is now a big leader, Ganapati Satchidananda Swami, immediately came to Narasimhaya and said, I will not make any miracle claims anymore. He signed a letter so that he would not be investigated. Ganapati Satchidananda Swami was the guy who he promotes temples in this country, builds big ones. He is the one who was suspended as a postman because he was stealing money, which was money order money. He is now a big spiritual leader. Dr. P.M. Bhargava is the founder of the Hyderabad-based Center for Cellular Molecular Biology, one of the world's leading scientists. B. Premanand was an activist. You know about Dr. Narendra Dabolkar. And Dr. Narendra Naik is the head of the Federation of Indian Rationalist Associations and a retired professor of biochemistry. So he launched a question. He asked for 20 answers and he said scientific error, experimental error should be admitted also in these things. Therefore, if I ask you 20 questions, take 5% error. That's all right. Get the other questions right. And when Narendra Naik launched this challenge, and he gave 20 questions, a few of them were mischievous questions. He asked something about the election results. And then he asked about how many votes a particular party will get. That party doesn't exist actually. He created the party and put it in the questionnaire. Some people gave votes to that party. That's the level of the astrologers. Not one got more than 5 or 6 questions right. So 25% success rate. I did a similar experiment with school children who have no notion of astrology. And I gave a questionnaire to astrologers. I'll tell you, the children who did random answering got more marks than the astrologers who studied for 25 years the universe and Vedas and everything else. That's their claim. So, the success rate of astrology is nothing more than a random sampling of information. I asked some questions. I keep repeatedly asking this. But the important thing is, a prediction is to be concrete. You can't say in the next 100 years we'll all be dead. That's not a prediction. Now, if you say on the 6th of July, 2019, you're going to pop off, that is a prediction. Just saying something will happen in the next 15 months, 5 years, is not at all a prediction. So we had all these people who reported on our challenge, and then some people actually responded. I said, give me written answers, but they did not give written answers. They said, we will challenge you and answer you in TV channels. So I encountered a few of these humorous people in TV channels. The question is simple. If you know how the planets move, which you certainly do, what does it tell you about how my health will be, or my daughter's wedding, when that would be, or how my business will be? They are two different things. If you know, because you have a railway timetable in hand, what time AP Express leaves Secunderabad station, does it mean you know what will be the future of the country? You have a manual which has recorded physical events, and they are predictable. The earth doesn't go zigzag. It has a very serious periodic path. The day is always almost 24 hours. The month is almost always, that's our calculation of course, around 30 days. The year is 365 something. Those don't change. So eclipses also are predictable. Every so many 1,000 days there is an eclipse. It doesn't mean you know when I'm going to pass my exam. They're two different things. So, this guy, he met me in a TV channel and he made these charming predictions. He said the third front would come to power. Now, he said Nitish Kumar will be the Prime Minister of that election, 2014. That in Telangana, Congress party would come to power and Jana Reddy would be the Chief Minister. And then in Andhra Pradesh, YSRC Congress would come to power. As you all know, not one of them is actually correct. And then he told me, this is my challenge to you. Now come on, prove. So just to check him, I said, but you know, Vivekananda, he did not believe in astrology. He's a better Hindu than you. Why did he not believe in astrology? He said, I don't know how much Vivekananda knows about astrology. So he said, okay, you know about astrology, so tell us. And those were the predictions he gave. Right. Not even one was proved right. Not even one. And then we all know that Rahu and Ketu, which don't exist, are part of the family of planets. The sun is a planet. Everyone who's gone to school knows that the sun is not a planet. The difference between a planet and a star A star produces its own light, the planet reflects it. That planets go around the star, stars don't go around another planet. That is known. Not only is the sun a planet, the moon, which is a satellite, is also a planet. Not only that, Rahu Ketu, which nobody has ever seen, are also planets. Now, Navagrahas, they have 9 planets. That's also what science says, right? So our old people and ancestors were really very smart. They knew there were 9 planets. Nobody sat down to make a list of those 9 planets. Planet number 1, sun. No, it's a star. Planet number 2, moon. No, it's a satellite. Planet number 3, Rahu. Absolutely not, it doesn't exist. 4th one, Ketu. No, doesn't exist. So out of your 9, 4 are duck out. That's one thing. Oh, there's something else. The planet which brings the wrong results in your life because it is inauspicious is Shani. What is Shani? It is Saturn. We live in the United States here now. You've heard of Caroline Porco, the great scientist of NASA. She was in charge of the Saturn mission. And I'm sure you've all delighted in that beautiful pictures of Saturn that have been beamed to us. That beautiful, shining, radiant planet with that superb rings around it. It's supposed to bring bad luck. Not only that, it is a Shudra planet. This is the main point. Saturn is Shudra. Jupiter is Brahmana. The moon is Vaishya. The sun is Kshatriya. Now you understand? It is a caste system imposed on the universe. It is not science. It is a diseased idea of the nature of humanity which has been projected after humanity has been successfully destroyed, projecting it onto the universe. That is the problem with astrology. It is a caste system projected onto the physical universe. Now, there are also notions that we share with the astrology of the Greeks and the Babylonians and the Egyptians. Why will it not be? Because we didn't invent astrology ourselves. All these liars who tell us that it's all in the Vedas, they have not read the Vedas. And the viewers, of course, have never read the Vedas. They only think the Vedas are great. Not even in one Veda is Rasi mentioned. The zodiac constellations are not mentioned in the Vedas. You know why? Because the zodiac constellation idea came to India through the Greeks. The Vedas were already done by them. That's why it's not there. The Babylonians observed the universe. They had some insight into when eclipses will happen. They noted that. This knowledge went to the Egyptians. The Greeks, like Indians come to America to learn, the Greeks went to Egypt to learn. In fact, the Greek philosophers were sending their disciples to Egypt to learn things. Remember, the Egyptians were the ones who built the pyramids. They were the ones who proposed the calendar. The modern 365-day calendar is a contribution and a gift of Egypt. They went to learn these things there. When they go there, they learn about the Babylonian astrology. They take it to Greece. And next door to Greece is Macedonia, which is where Alexander was born. And when Alexander came to invade, he brought the astrologers with him. That is how we got those things. In the history of Indian astrology, already Yavana Rushulu are mentioned. Yavana, you know, is Greek. The Sanskrit scholars of 2000 years ago recorded that their knowledge comes from the rishis of Greece. That's how we got it. Now, this other guy, this is the comic character. I mean, they're all humorous people, but this is particularly comic fellow. This guy, what he predicted, the nonsense is already there. This was a couple of years after Rajshekar Reddy, Chief Minister, was killed. This is the second time I met him. The first time I met him was then. And he said, I already knew when Rajshekhar Reddy was going to die. So it's about a year and a half, 2 years after the helicopter crash. So I said, stop the recording in the studio. I said, call the police. So the anchor was shocked. I said, call the police. A constitutional functionary of the government of India was going to die. He had advance information. Go, take him to the police station. Because he has news, he has information. Maybe he was the one who did it. Maybe he was with the people who were doing it. Maybe he was part of the conspiracy. నేను కాదండి అట్లా కాదండి నేను ఎప్పుడు అన్నాను అట్లా కాదండి అసలు మీరు తప్పు అర్థం చేసుకున్నారండి. Catch the liar by the throat and the truth will come out. Of course he did not predict. Of course no astrologer can predict. How can you do it? The only thing you can predict is whether the child will be male or female, and 50% of the time will be right. Toss the coin, you will find out. The coin will be roughly 50% correctly predicted by you. That's not prediction. And then this fellow, again, same things. So we had 3 astrologers come to morning time television, prime time, talk show. They made their predictions. None of them correct. Not even once. Not even one single prediction. Experimental error. Children could have predicted it better. And then the false claim that the Supreme Court of India has recognized astrology and Vastu as science. The Supreme Court was never asked this question. The Supreme Court was asked to say whether introduction of courses in university on astrology and Vastu was anti-secular. And the court said that is a domain to be regulated by the university, not by the court. The university has an autonomy, and in exercise of its autonomy, the university is free to introduce whichever course it would like to. That's all that the court said. The court said nothing about saying astrology was scientific. And let us not forget, for those of us who still are Indian by passport, that Article 51AH of the Indian Constitution says it is the duty of every citizen of India to promote scientific temper, humanism, social reform. That's exactly what we are talking about. And the scientists, the great Indian scientists who opposed Jyotishyam, there is Sir C.V. Raman. You know what Raman said? He said, let the mad dogs of superstition bark, science will go further anyway. That's what he was saying. Then Professor Chandrasekhar, his nephew, but one of the most celebrated humanist, astronomer, scientist, Chandrasekhar, and the latest Nobel laureate of Indian origin, not Indian, who has also denounced this. And then the famous Indian scientists who have been opposing this. So let us not be misled by these false claims that all this is in the so-called holy texts. It's not, to start with. And what if it is there? It has to be true to be accepted. And it has not been proved to be true. And then of course these silly scientists who are doing great things in technology but still believe that it's the mantras which take the satellites into space. China is an atheist country, so to say. They don't do any puja. They go into space. France is a secular country. They don't do any puja. They are able to send the satellite into space. Somehow, most of them from Kerala, the NASA, the ISRO scientists, have brought in this tradition of puja. There is Bharat Ratna Professor C.N.R. Rao saying it's wrong. And he is scientific advisor to the Prime Minister. And then there are, of course, the great scientists and the public figures who have been objecting to astrology. And there is 18 Nobel laureates and 186 scientists who have said astrology destroys the human mind and we should not allow astrology to prevail as it is. Newspapers should stop publishing astrological predictions or at least say that this is for entertainment. In the UK, it is a law. If you're an astrologer in the United Kingdom, behind you, there must be a board which says for entertainment only. If you are predicting on TV, there must be a scrolling line in the language of the broadcast. So you can't broadcast in Punjabi and put it in Telugu. You have to do it in the language of the broadcast, the disclaimer that this is for entertainment. And in India, we are introducing courses in universities. Now, interesting. Oxford and Cambridge, they withdrew the courses on astrology 500 to 600 years ago. We are introducing them now. So you see, chart out the bad things we are doing to our own people. The young, the children who ought to be taking the country to its heights, because there's nothing special about Americans, there's nothing special about Indians. If you give them the right frame, they will develop to be great. And we are preventing them from being those great people. And then there are these people who want to defend astrology and astronomy and say this is an attack on religion. Oh, so now you're saying your astrology is not science. Now you're saying your astrology is a religion. So why did you till now say that it is a science? They are trying their best, they are hiding for cover, and they are invoking all kinds of things. But look at the great Buddha, 2,500 years ago. He is saying, I will not do these things. He is saying, they are base arts, Nichapukalam. Those are base arts. And then he said, I will not tell you. Look at that. Adrushta Devatala Pujalu Chestu, Bhavanaalaku Adrushtam Kaliginche, Sthalalu Chupistu. Vastu, which is our focus point now, of course. That is what they were saying. And yet, 2,500 years later, we are in a situation where we are discussing Vastu. Now, what is this Vastu business? మీరు అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి మాట్లాడమన్నారా వాస్తు వాస్తు ప్రకారం పెట్టిందేనా
అంటే స్లైడ్స్ ఏం లేవు సార్ ఇంకా
లేవండి.
సో దెన్ వి విల్ మూవ్ ద స్టేజ్.
We'll take a few minutes to reorganize.
Yeah, 2 minutes.